I'm very surprised at how poor the Ravens secondary performed in terms of their communication and assignment versus the Bills. Taking nothing away from the Bills, who did execute their game plan, who were very successful on the ground and at times pushed the defensive front around. Our secondary did not look at all like a team that had fixed its communication problems, which is to say the least disappointing for a team that's in their 19th game of the season. This is a man-free coverage with some zone match principles to the strong side. Weak side, we get Nate Wiggins in Meg coverage. That's man everywhere he goes. Our rat in this coverage initially is Chris Board. He's going to feign the rush, drop out. We get a second level rush in the person of Roquan Smith. Kyle Van Noy is going to play the flat, then match the running back on this wheel out of the backfield. Ardarius becomes our middle of the field safety, with Brandon Stephens zone matching this side. Kyle has the new number 2 up the seam and on the cross. Kyle's not worried about getting on top of this route and playing outside of it, as he has help from the deep safety and supposes he has help in this hook region from the rat. Therein lies the problem. You'll notice with the bottom part of this mesh route, you have Marlon Humphrey in what appears Meg coverage. You'll notice as the route comes across, Chris Board runs with it. As a consequence, we have this entire region wide open for the quarterback to hit this throw. Thankfully, it comes up short and incomplete. This is the first drive of the second half. So one of two things are possible here. If Marlon is in man everywhere he goes coverage here, Chris has no business running with this route, needs to drop, read the quarterback's intention, and get underneath this crossing route. My initial response when watching this play was to blame Chris for running with this rat. However, it is not uncommon. In fact, I would say it's more common for the rat, in this case Chris Board, to match aggressively every crossing route underneath. If this is the case, it's up to Marlon to communicate this crosser to Chris and then drop. In other words, he's going to match this pattern. He becomes our new rat. I'm not sure who is to blame here, and you may say no harm, no foul as the ball comes up incomplete. To me, it's surprising the level of non-communication, and it shows up a lot in the secondary in this Bills game. Throughout the first half, I thought the Ravens' defense blew assignments, was manipulated and confused by the Bills' offense and by motion. In this coverage, Brandon is in effect our middle linebacker. He is our Tampa 2, middle of the field defender. Off the ball, we see him open his hips to the strong side. If someone is vertical in this coverage, Brandon has to close down the middle of the field and continue to run with him. You can see the frustration expressed at the end of this play, both by Ardarius Washington and Marlon Humphrey. Here's an above the field perspective of the previous play. For what it's worth, I think Nate Wiggins was one of the more consistent defenders on the field, or at least in the secondary for the Ravens. The Bills start off in a 2-by-2 set. Pre-snap, we get 2 separate shifts. We end up 3-by-1. I really think that the Bills had an understanding, or at least a strong suspicion, of what they were going to see versus certain receiver sets. I'm convinced that the Bills are pretty convinced that against this formation and this pre-snap look by the Ravens that they're going to get Tampa 2 with the inside receiver running the seam. We see Roquan open his hips to the strong side and run, and we get double slants. With the back releasing to this side, we get the middle of the field open for that inside receiver slant. It's too easy. There are more plays I could show from the first half that look like the Bills have the Ravens' number. The Ravens are not doing a good job in disguise. They're sort of playing catch up behind the Bills' motions. They're not passing off routes. Again, it doesn't look like a team that's well oiled, that's 2 games away from the Super Bowl. It seems like every other play in the secondary in this first half, somebody's out of position, and you can see the frustration, again, seemingly every other play as the play ends.